The Alpha King's children cried every night until Omega Maid Kaelin revealed the truth. They feared losing their father too. But when the Royal Council discovers she's awakened a forbidden mate bond, will King Darius choose his crown or the woman who healed his family? Thunder crashed above the dark castle as 6-year-old Princess Lyanna pressed her face against the cold window. Her tears mixed with raindrops on the glass while she counted each lightning flash. 1, 2, 3. Just like she counted her father's heartbeats every night to make sure he was still alive. "Lyanna, come away from there," called Nanny Bertha, her voice tired and worried. But the little princess didn't move. She couldn't. What if father disappeared while she wasn't watching? What if he turned into shadows like Mama did? Down the hallway, 4-year-old Prince Kieran screamed himself awake from another nightmare. His cries echoed through the stone walls of Ravencrest Castle, mixing with the storm outside. The royal guards shifted uncomfortably at their posts. Even they were getting tired of the children's endless tears. King Darius sat in his study, staring at papers he couldn't read. The words blurred together whenever his children cried. For 73 nights, this had been his life. Work during the day, listen to crying at night. No sleep, no peace, no hope. "Your Majesty?" A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. He looked up to see a young woman in a simple gray dress standing in his doorway. She had kind brown eyes and hair the color of autumn leaves. He'd never seen her before, which was strange. He knew everyone who worked in his castle. "I'm Kaelin Nightwhisper," she said with a small curtsy, the new maid assigned to the children's wing. Darius frowned. "I didn't approve any new staff. Head butler Morrison hired me yesterday, Your Majesty," he said. She paused, looking nervous. "He said you needed help with the children." Another scream from Kieran's room made them both wince. Darius rubbed his temples where a headache was forming. 27 nannies have quit in the past month. What makes you think you'll be different?" Kaelin's eyes grew sad but determined. "Because I know what it's like to lose a parent, Your Majesty. I know how scary it feels when your whole world changes." Something in her voice made Darius look at her more carefully. There was pain there, old and deep, but also strength. "You think you can help them?" "I'd like to try, if you'll let me." Before he could answer, Princess Lyanna appeared in the doorway. Her nightgown was wrinkled, her golden hair messy from tossing and turning. She looked at Kaelin with curious blue eyes but said nothing. She hadn't spoken a word since her mother's funeral 6 months ago. Kaelin knelt down to Lyanna's height. "Hello there, little star. I'm Kaelin. I heard you like to watch for your mama in the sky." Lyanna's eyes widened in surprise. How did this stranger know about that? "My mama used to tell me that when people we love go to the stars, they send us special messages," Kaelin continued gently. "Would you like to learn how to read them?" For the first time in months, Princess Lyanna nodded. Darius felt something strange happen in his chest. A tiny spark of hope, so small he almost missed it. "Miss Nightwhisper, you may work with the children tonight. We'll see how it goes." As Kaelin led Lyanna back toward the children's wing, the little princess did something that made her father's heart skip a beat. She looked back over her shoulder and waved at him. Just a small wave, but it was the first sign of happiness he'd seen from her since the funeral. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the castle, other eyes were watching. Lord Commander Grimwald stood hidden behind a stone pillar, his scarred face twisted with anger. An unknown Omega having access to the royal children? This was dangerous. Very dangerous. He'd been waiting for the right moment to make his move against the grieving king. If Darius seemed weak and unable to control his own family, the royal council might be convinced to choose a new leader, someone stronger, someone like Grimwald himself. But this new maid could ruin everything. If she actually helped the children, it would make Darius look like a good father again. The people loved their king when he was strong and happy. Grimwald couldn't let that happen. He pulled out a small piece of parchment and began writing a message. By morning, every member of the royal council would know about the mysterious Omega, who'd somehow gained instant access to the royal bloodline. They'd want answers, and Grimwald would be ready to provide them. Back in the children's wing, something magical was happening. Kaelin had lit a single candle and was sitting on the floor between Lyanna and Kieran's beds. The little prince had stopped crying and was peeking out from under his blankets, watching her with wide green eyes. "Long ago," Kaelin began, in a voice soft as silk, "there lived a wolf queen who loved her cubs more than all the stars in the sky. As she spoke, both children crept closer. Liana sat cross-legged in front of her, while Kieran clutched his stuffed dragon and listened with his thumb in his mouth. For the first time since their mother died, they looked peaceful. Darius found himself standing in the hallway outside their room, listening to Kaylin's gentle voice tell stories of brave wolves and magical kingdoms. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but something about her voice drew him like a moth to flame. The storm outside was finally beginning to calm, and so were his children. Could this simple Omega Maid really be the answer to his prayers? 3 days later, the impossible was happening. Princess Liana was smiling again. Not all the time, but little bursts of joy that lit up her face like sunshine breaking through clouds. Prince Kieran's nightmares had stopped completely, replaced by dreams of adventure and magic from Kaylin's bedtime stories. Darius couldn't believe the change. He stood outside the children's playroom, watching through the cracked door, as Kaylin helped them build a castle out of wooden blocks. Liana was humming, actually humming while she worked. "Higher, Kieran," Liana whispered, her first words in months coming out like drops of liquid gold. "Make the tower touch the sky." Darius had to grip the doorframe to keep from falling over. His daughter was speaking. His little star was finding her voice again. "That's perfect, princess," Kaylin praised, her own face glowing with happiness. "Your mama would be so proud of this beautiful castle." Instead of crying at the mention of their mother, both children beamed with pride. Somehow, Kaylin had taught them that remembering Mama could bring joy instead of just sadness. But their peaceful moment was shattered when heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Lord Commander Grimwald appeared with 5 other council members, their faces stern and disapproving. "Your Majesty," Grimwald announced in his booming voice, "we need to speak with you immediately. About the Omega." Kaylin quickly stood up, smoothing her skirts nervously. She'd been dreading this moment. She could smell the suspicion and anger rolling off the council members like smoke from a fire. "Children, why don't you go wash up for lunch?" she suggested gently. Liana and Kieran scampered away, sensing the tension in the air. Elder Councillor Ashmont stepped forward, his gray beard bristling with indignation. "This is highly irregular, Your Majesty. An Omega of unknown background, having unsupervised access to the royal heirs? It goes against every protocol we have." "She's helping them," Darius replied firmly. "For the first time in months, my children are healing." "Or being manipulated," Grimwald suggested darkly. "Omegas have ways of influencing minds, especially young ones. How do we know she hasn't used some kind of magic on them?" Kaylin's cheeks burned red. "I would never hurt them. They're just children who miss their mother. All they needed was someone to listen and understand." "Understand?" Lady Councillor Morvain laughed coldly. "You're a servant. What could you possibly understand about royal grief?" The words hit Kaylin like a slap. She lowered her eyes, feeling small and worthless under their harsh stares. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was just a foolish Omega who'd overstepped her place. But then she felt something warm wrap around her shoulders. Darius had moved to stand beside her, his presence strong and protective. "Miss Nightwhisper understands more than any of you," he said quietly. "She's given my children hope when no one else could." Grimwald's eyes flashed with anger. This wasn't going according to his plan. "Your Majesty, we must consider the bigger picture. What will other kingdoms think if they learn our future rulers are being raised by a common Omega? It makes us look weak." "Weak?" Darius's voice turned dangerous. "My children were dying inside, and she brought them back to life. If that's weakness, then I'll take it over your version of strength any day." The tension in the room crackled like lightning. The council members exchanged worried glances. They'd never seen their king defend anyone so fiercely, especially not a servant. "We propose a test," Ashmont declared suddenly. 1 week without her influence. If the children remain stable, she may continue. If they regress. "What happens if they regress?" Darius asked, though he already feared the answer. "Exile to the borderlands," Grimwald smiled coldly. "Permanently." Kaylin's blood turned to ice. The borderlands were a death sentence for an unmated Omega. Wild wolves, harsh weather, and no protection from rogues or bandits. No one survived there alone. "That's not necessary," Darius began, but Kaylin interrupted him. "I accept," she said quietly. "If it proves I'm truly helping them, then I accept your test." Kaylin, no. Darius turned to her with panic in his eyes. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. She looked up at him with those warm brown eyes that had become so precious to him. I understand perfectly, Your Majesty. But Princess Liana and Prince Kiran are worth the risk. They deserve to be happy again. Her words hit him like a punch to the chest. When was the last time anyone had put his children's happiness above their own safety? When was the last time anyone had shown such selfless love for his family? The test begins tomorrow, Grimwald announced with satisfaction. 7 full days without contact, if the children cry even once. They won't, Kaylin said with more confidence than she felt. They're stronger than you think. Both of them. As the council members filed out, Grimwald lingered for a moment. Enjoy your last night in the castle, Omega, he whispered so only she could hear. It'll be your last night anywhere civilized. After everyone left, Darius and Kaylin stood alone in the playroom, surrounded by the wooden castle the children had built. It seemed like a symbol of everything fragile and precious in the world. You didn't have to agree to this, Darius said softly. I could have found another way. Kaylin picked up one of the toy towers, running her fingers over its smooth surface. Your Majesty, can I tell you something? Something I've never told anyone? He nodded, moving closer without thinking about proper royal distance. My mother died when I was Liana's age. My father couldn't handle his grief, so he sent me away to live with relatives who saw me as a burden. Her voice grew quiet and sad. I spent years feeling unwanted and alone, just like your children do now. I won't let them go through what I did, not if I can help it. Darius felt something crack open inside his chest. This brave Omega was willing to risk her life for children who weren't even hers just because she understood their pain. How could the council not see what a gift she was? Kaylin, he whispered, and for the first time, used her name without her title. But whatever he was about to say was lost when Princess Liana came running back into the room, her face bright with excitement. Papa! Papa! She called out, the word bursting from her lips like a song. Kaylin taught me how to make shadow puppets. Want to see? As his daughter chattered happily for the first time since her mother's death, Darius realized something that terrified him more than any enemy army ever could. He was falling in love with the Omega who'd saved his family. And in 6 days, she might be gone forever. Kaylin's hands shook as she tucked Prince Kiran into bed, knowing this might be her last night with the children. Tomorrow, the royal council would decide her fate. She had broken the most sacred rule in the castle. An Omega servant had dared to touch the hearts of royal blood. Will you still be here when I wake up? 4-year-old Kiran whispered, his green eyes wide with worry. Before Kaylin could answer, Princess Liana sat up in her bed across the room. Father said the mean men want to send you away. Her voice was still soft from months of silence, but her words cut through the darkness like a blade. Sometimes grown-ups make difficult choices, little star, Kaylin said gently, brushing Kiran's dark hair from his forehead. But no matter what happens, you'll always be brave and strong. Like Mama was? Liana asked. Kaylin's heart squeezed. Just like your mama. Down the hall, King Darius paced his study like a caged wolf. The royal council had given him an impossible choice. Lord Commander Grimwald's words echoed in his mind. The Omega has clearly used some form of magic to bewitch the royal children. Such influence cannot be tolerated. But Darius knew better. What Kaylin had done wasn't magic. It was something far more dangerous to his carefully controlled world. She had shown him what he'd forgotten how to be. A father instead of just a king. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called. Kaylin stepped inside, her Omega scent immediately calming his restless wolf. Your Majesty, I need to tell you something before tomorrow's council meeting. Kaylin, I've been thinking about what you said, about the children needing their father instead of their king. Darius moved closer, close enough to see the worry lines around her eyes. You were right. I've been so afraid of losing them the way I lost Serafina that I forgot they needed me to live, not just survive. There's something else, Kaylin said quietly. Something I discovered about why the children responded to me so quickly. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing a small crescent-shaped birthmark on her inner wrist. Darius sucked in a sharp breath. He had the exact same mark, in the exact same place. My grandmother told me stories before she died, Kaylin continued. She said Some wolves are born with matching soul marks, that they're meant to find each other, to complete each other's pack. Darius reached out slowly, his finger tracing the mark on her wrist. The moment their skin touched, warmth spread up his arm and settled in his chest. His wolf, which had been restless and aggressive for months, suddenly felt complete. "This changes everything," he breathed. "Does it?" Kaelin pulled her sleeve back down. "I'm still just an Omega Maid. You're still the Alpha King. The Council will never accept this. The Council serves me, not the other way around," Darius said firmly. "And my children need you. I need you." Before Kaelin could respond, a commotion erupted in the hallway. Shouting voices and running footsteps echoed through the castle corridors. Darius yanked open his study door to find a young guard racing toward them. "Your Majesty, the children, they're gone." "What do you mean, gone?" Darius's voice turned deadly quiet. "They were in their beds an hour ago. Now their room is empty. The window is open, and there are rope marks on the sill. Someone took them." Kaelin's face went white. "The exile lands. If someone wanted to frame me for kidnapping the royal children, they'd have the perfect excuse to execute you," Darius finished grimly. His wolf snarled, ready for blood. "How long ago?" "Guards discovered it 10 minutes ago, sire. But based on the rope and the cold air in the room, maybe an hour head start." Darius was already moving, grabbing his sword and cloak. "Ready the fastest horses. Alert the border guards. No one leaves the kingdom tonight." "Your Majesty," Kaelin caught his arm. "Let me come with you. The children trust me. If they're scared and hiding, they'll come to me faster than anyone else." "Absolutely not. If this is a trap, then you'll need someone who can track their scents. Someone they'll run to instead of away from." Kaelin's eyes blazed with determination. "You said it yourself. We're meant to be a pack. Packs protect each other." The midnight air bit through their cloaks as Darius and Kaelin rode hard toward the northern border. The tracking hounds had picked up the children's scent near the old mining road, a route that led directly to the exile lands where Omega criminals were sent to die. "This wasn't random," Darius called over the thunder of hoofbeats. "Someone planned this perfectly. Right before the council meeting. Right when you're most vulnerable." Kaelin urged her horse faster, her heart pounding with more than just the wild ride. "The children have never been outside the castle walls. They must be terrified. Princess Lyanna, Prince Kieran." Darius's voice boomed across the rocky landscape as they reached the mining camps. "It's father. You're safe now." Only echoes answered them. "There." Kaelin pointed to a flickering light in the distance. "That old cabin wasn't lit when we passed it earlier." They dismounted and crept closer. Through the dirty window, they could see 2 small figures huddled together on a rough wooden floor. But they weren't alone. "Lord Commander Grimwald," Darius growled under his breath. The scarred man stood over the children with 3 other soldiers. "Don't worry, little ones. Your father will be here soon. And when he arrives to rescue you, he'll find that his precious Omega friend arranged your kidnapping. Very sad that she'll have to be executed for treason." "You're lying!" Princess Lyanna's voice cracked with tears. "Kaelin would never hurt us." "Wouldn't she?" Grimwald smiled coldly. "She's already bewitched your father, made him weak, made him forget his duty to the kingdom." Prince Kieran tried to stand up, but his hands were tied. "I want to go home. I want Kaelin." "Shut up, boy." One of the soldiers raised his hand to strike the child. That's when Darius exploded through the door. The fight was brutal and fast. Darius moved like the alpha predator he was, his sword singing through the air. But Grimwald had expected this. As Darius battled 2 soldiers, the Lord Commander grabbed Princess Lyanna and pressed a knife to her throat. "Stop right there, Your Majesty, or your daughter dies." Darius froze, his sword halfway through a killing blow. You see, this is what happens when a king lets emotions rule him instead of logic. Grimwald's blade pressed closer to Lyanna's neck. "The Omega has made you weak, made you forget that kings must sacrifice everything for their kingdom. Let her go, Grimwald. Your fight is with me." "My fight is with what you've become," Grimwald snarled. "A lovesick fool who would throw away centuries of royal tradition for a servant girl." That's when Kaelin appeared in the doorway like a shadow. She'd circled around the back of the cabin while Darius created the distraction. But instead of attacking, she did something completely unexpected. She began to sing. It was the same lullaby she'd hummed to the children on their first night together, but now it carried power. Ancient Omega magic that could calm the most savage beast, could reach into the deepest pain and soothe it. The effect was immediate. Grimwald's hand trembled. The other soldiers stopped fighting and stared. Even Darius felt his rage cool into focused determination. "That's it, Lord Commander." Kaelin's voice was hypnotic, gentle. "You're tired. So tired of carrying all that anger, all that pain. You lost someone too, didn't you? Someone you loved?" Grimwald's knife wavered. My son. He died because I wasn't strong enough to protect him. And you think being hard, being cruel, will make you strong enough this time?" Kaelin stepped closer, her hands open and empty. "But strength isn't about building walls. It's about building bridges. You don't understand." Grimwald's voice cracked. "If the kingdom falls because we showed weakness, look at them." Kaelin gestured to Princess Lyanna and Prince Kirin. "Do they look weak? Or do they look like children who know they're loved? Who know they're safe enough to be brave?" For just a moment, Grimwald's grip loosened. Just enough. Princess Lyanna bit down hard on his hand while Prince Kirin rolled away. Darius moved like lightning, disarming the Lord Commander before he could react. But as the children ran to Kaelin's arms, Grimwald pulled a hidden dagger from his boot. "If I can't have a strong king, then I'll make sure you have no king at all." He lunged at Darius. The blade flashed in the firelight. And then Princess Lyanna did something that shocked everyone in the room. She howled. Not a child's cry, but a true alpha howl that shattered the cabin windows and sent every wolf within 10 miles running toward the sound. The royal bloodline had awakened in his 6-year-old daughter, and her power was terrifying and beautiful. Grimwald stumbled backward, his hands pressed to his ears. The other soldiers dropped to their knees. Even Darius stared at his daughter in amazement. "Nobody hurts my family," Lyanna said firmly, her small hands glowing with silver light. "Nobody." Something glowed in the darkness of the royal garden that night. King Darius had never seen anything like it before. The silver light came from where Kaelin sat by the fountain, her hand pressed against her shoulder like she was hiding something important. "What are you doing out here so late?" Darius asked, stepping from the shadows between the rose bushes. Kaelin jumped up fast, her eyes wide with surprise. "Your Majesty, I didn't hear you coming." "You didn't answer my question." Darius moved closer, noticing how she kept one hand on her shoulder. "Show me what you're hiding." "It's nothing really, just an old mark from when I was little." But her voice shook when she said it. The garden smelled like night flowers and rain from earlier. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called out. Darius felt his wolf stirring inside him, like it recognized something familiar nearby. "Kaelin, I've seen many things in my life. That wasn't nothing." He pointed to where the silver light had been. "That was something very special, very rare." She looked down at her feet. "You'll think I'm crazy. Try me." Slowly, Kaelin pulled down the shoulder of her dress. There on her skin was a mark shaped like a crescent moon. It glowed with soft silver light, just like the moon above them. Darius felt his heart stop beating for a moment. He knew that mark. He had the exact same one. "Where did you get that?" he whispered. "My mother said I was born with it. She told me stories about it, but I never believed them until..." Kaelin's voice got quieter. "Until I came to work here. Until I met you and the children." Darius pulled off his own shirt, showing the matching crescent moon on his shoulder. When the two marks were close together, they both glowed brighter, like they were calling to each other. "Impossible," Kaelin breathed. "My grandmother told me stories too. She said true mates carry matching moon marks, but I thought they were just fairy tales." Darius reached out slowly, his fingers almost touching her mark. "She said when two marks meet, they create a bond stronger than any law or rule." The moment his skin touched hers, lightning seemed to flash between them. Not the kind from storms, but something warm and bright and alive. Kaelin gasped, and Darius felt something click into place inside his chest, like a puzzle piece he'd been missing his whole life. "I can feel your heartbeat," Kaelin whispered, wonder in her voice. "And I can feel yours." Darius smiled for the first time since his wife died. "You're not just helping my children, Kaelin. You're meant to be part of our family. This mark proves it." But even as joy filled his heart, worry crept in too. "The council will never accept this. They already want you gone." "Then we keep it secret," Kaelin said, but her hand trembled as she covered her mark again. "No." Darius's voice grew strong. "I'm done hiding from who I'm meant to be. Done letting fear make my choices. A noise came from the castle windows above them. Little Kieran was crying again, his nightmares returning. Go to them, Darius said. I'll be right behind you. As Kaelin ran toward the castle, Darius looked up at the real moon above. For the first time in months, it seemed to be smiling down at him. The mate bond hummed between him and Kaelin like a song only they could hear. But he knew tomorrow would bring new problems. The council wouldn't just let this go. And somewhere in the shadows, he could feel eyes watching, planning something terrible. Blood-red light filled the sky as the full moon rose on the worst night of Darius's life. From his window, he could see soldiers moving in the courtyard below. But these weren't his soldiers. They wore the silver wolf symbol of the enemy pack. Papa! Lyanna's scream cut through the night air like a knife. Darius ran toward the children's room, his heart pounding. But when he got there, armed men blocked his way. Stand down, false king. Lord Commander Grimwald stepped forward, his sword already bloody. Tonight, we take back this kingdom from your weakness. Where are my children? Darius growled, his wolf fighting to break free. Safe, for now. But the Omega witch who poisoned your mind. Grimwald smiled in a way that made Darius's blood turn cold. She won't see another sunrise. Inside the room, Darius could hear Kieran sobbing and Kaelin's gentle voice trying to calm him. She was trapped in there with the children while enemy soldiers surrounded them. This ends now. Darius shifted into his wolf form, his black fur rippling with power. The battle was fast and fierce. Claws met steel, and howls echoed off the stone walls. Darius fought like a creature possessed, but more soldiers kept coming. For everyone he defeated, 2 more appeared. Grimwald laughed as he watched. You cannot win, old friend. Half your own guards have joined us. They're tired of watching you grow soft. A new sound joined the fight. Kaelin singing. Not a regular song, but something older, deeper, something that called to every loyal wolf in the castle. What is that? Grimwald's confidence wavered. The song grew louder, and suddenly the children joined in. Little Kieran's voice mixed with his sister's, creating harmony that made the windows shake. Impossible, Grimwald whispered. Children that young cannot have such power. But they did. Princess Lyanna let out her first real alpha howl. A sound so pure and strong it knocked 3 soldiers off their feet. Prince Kieran followed, with a growl that made grown men shake with fear. The royal blood had awakened. Every loyal guard in the castle heard the call and came running. The tide of battle turned in seconds. Grimwald's men found themselves surrounded by wolves loyal to their true king. This isn't over, Grimwald snarled as he retreated. The council will never accept an Omega Queen. Then the council can find new jobs, Darius replied, blood dripping from a cut on his arm. When the last enemy soldier fled, Darius rushed into the children's room. Kaelin sat on the floor with both children in her arms, all 3 of them glowing with soft silver light. Papa! Lyanna ran to him. We protected Kaelin. We were brave like you taught us. Yes, you were, Darius said, kneeling to hug them both. You were incredibly brave. But as he looked at Kaelin over his children's heads, he saw new worry in her eyes. The secret was out now. Everyone had seen the power that flowed between them, had heard the children call her their protector. There would be more battles to come, harder ones. But tonight, his family was safe and together, and that was enough. Outside, storm clouds gathered again, but this time Darius wasn't afraid. This time, he had something worth fighting for. The morning sun painted blood-red streaks across the castle walls when Princess Lyanna burst into the throne room, her small feet sliding on the marble floor. Papa! Papa! They took Kaelin away! Her voice cracked with the same terror that had silenced her for months. King Darius shot up from his chair so fast it toppled backward. His wolf surged beneath his skin, ready to tear apart anyone who dared touch his mate. Where did they take her? The dungeon tower, Prince Kieran whispered from behind his sister, clutching a torn piece of Kaelin's apron. Lord Commander Grimwald said she put a spell on us. But Papa, she didn't. She just made the scary dreams go away. The king's hands shook as he knelt before his children. Everything inside him screamed to run to the dungeons immediately. But years of ruling had taught him hard lessons. Royal decisions affected entire kingdoms, not just hearts. Listen to me, he said, pulling both children close. I need you both to be very brave right now. Can you do that for me? Lyanna nodded. though tears streamed down her cheeks. "Are you going to save her?" Before Darius could answer, heavy boots echoed through the hall. Lord Commander Grimwald entered with 6 guards, his armor gleaming in the morning light. "Your Majesty, the Council demands your immediate presence. The Omega's trial begins now." "Trial?" Darius rose slowly, his voice dangerously quiet. "On what charges?" "Using forbidden magic to influence the royal bloodline," Grimwald announced. "The punishment is death by silver blade at sunset." Little Kieran gasped and hid behind his father's leg. Lyanna stepped forward, her young face blazing with fury that reminded everyone exactly whose daughter she was. "You're lying," she shouted. "Kaelin never hurt us. She made us feel safe." Grimwald's cold eyes fixed on the princess. "Children can be easily fooled by dark magic, Your Highness. That's why adults must protect them." The throne room fell silent except for the crackling of torches. Darius felt the weight of every choice pressing down on him. Save Kaelin and risk civil war. Follow the Council's demands, and lose the woman who brought his family back to life. "The trial will be fair," he finally said. "I'll hear all evidence before any sentence." Grimwald smiled like a wolf who'd cornered his prey. "Of course, Your Majesty. But remember, the Council speaks for the kingdom's safety." As the guards filed out, Darius knelt again and took his children's hands. "I want you both to go to your chambers and stay there until I come for you. No matter what you hear, don't come out." "But, Papa," Kieran started. "Promise-me," Darius said firmly. "Promise-me you'll stay safe." Both children nodded reluctantly. As they walked away, Lyanna looked back over her shoulder. "Papa, Mama used to say that sometimes the right choice isn't the easy choice." Those words hit Darius like a punch to the chest. Queen Seraphina had indeed said that many times during their reign together. Now, her daughter was reminding him of truths he'd almost forgotten. The council chamber buzzed with tension when Darius arrived. 12 noble families sat in judgment, their faces showing everything from concern to outright hostility. At the center of the room, Kaelin stood in chains, her head held high despite the bruises on her wrists. "The charges are serious," announced Elder Counselor Vex Ashmont. "This Omega has used unnatural influence over the royal children. She's made them dependent on her presence, possibly through magical means." "What proof do you offer?" Darius demanded, though his heart pounded seeing Kaelin hurt. Lord Commander Grimwald stepped forward with a scroll. 3 separate witnesses saw her whispering strange words over the children at night. The royal physician confirms the children showed signs of magical influence. "I told them bedtime stories," Kaelin said quietly. "Old tales my mother taught me about brave wolves and protective spirits. Stories that happened to calm children no one else could soothe?" Grimwald shot back. "Stories that made them call you second mama after knowing you mere weeks." Murmurs rippled through the council. Darius saw doubt creeping into faces that had supported him for years. Fear made people do terrible things, even to innocent women who loved children. "Furthermore," Grimwald continued, "we have evidence of an unnatural bond between this Omega and our king." He gestured to 2 guards who brought forward a silver bowl filled with glowing water. "Moonwater reveals magical connections. If she's truly innocent, it will remain clear." Darius felt ice form in his veins. Moonwater was ancient magic, older than the kingdom itself. If it revealed their mate bond, the council would see it as proof of Kaelin's guilt. "I volunteer for the test," Kaelin said suddenly. "No," Darius whispered, but she was already walking toward the bowl. "If this water can prove my innocence, then let it speak for me." She dipped her hands into the silver bowl. The water began to glow, soft at first, then brighter. But instead of the dark purple that would indicate forbidden magic, it shone pure gold, the color of true mate bonds blessed by the moon goddess herself. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several council members fell to their knees in shock. Even Grimwald stepped backward, his face pale. "Impossible," he breathed. "The royal bloodline hasn't had a true mate bond in 3 generations." Elder Ashmont rose shakily from his chair. "Your Majesty, if this woman is truly your goddess, chosen mate, then we have made a grave error." But Grimwald wasn't finished. His hand moved to his sword as desperation twisted his features. "This proves nothing. She could have corrupted the moonwater itself." "Enough," Darius said, his voice carrying the full weight of his alpha power. "The The goddess has spoken. Release her immediately." "I don't think so," Grimwald snarled, drawing his blade. "This kingdom needs strength, not sentiment. Guards, arrest them both." But when he looked around, he found himself alone. Every guard in the chamber had knelt before their true king and his goddess-blessed mate. The golden light from the moonwater grew brighter, filling the entire chamber with warmth that felt like coming home after a long, cold winter. 3 months later, spring sunshine streamed through the Great Hall's windows as Queen Kaelin Ravencrest adjusted Prince Kieran's tiny crown for the 5th time. The 4-year-old kept wiggling during the coronation rehearsal, more interested in the butterflies outside than royal ceremony. "Hold still, little wolf," she laughed, catching him as he tried to chase a dust mote dancing in the sunbeams. "Your subjects need to see their prince looking dignified." "But, Mama Kaelin, the butterfly wants to play," Kieran protested, using the name that had made the entire court smile the first time they heard it. Princess Lyanna rolled her eyes with all the wisdom of her 6 years. "Kieran, you can play with butterflies after we practice being royal. Right, Papa?" King Darius grinned from his throne, watching his family with wonder that still surprised him every morning. "Your sister speaks truth, son. Though I suspect the butterflies will wait for you." The Great Hall bustled with preparations for tomorrow's official coronation of their new queen. Servants hung silver and gold banners while kitchen staff prepared feast tables that would feed half the kingdom. Everything sparkled with joy that had been missing from these walls for too long. "Your Majesty?" A young page appeared at Darius's elbow. "The delegation from Shadowmere has arrived for tomorrow's ceremony." Darius nodded. Even their former enemies wanted to witness the kingdom that had discovered true mate bonds still existed. 3 other royal families had already sent gifts, hoping the goddess might bless their own bloodlines with such fortune. "Papa, tell us the story again," Lyanna said, climbing onto his lap with the boldness that reminded everyone she'd be a formidable queen someday. "About how you and Mama Kaelin first met." Kieran immediately abandoned his butterfly chase and scrambled up Darius's other leg. "Yes, tell about the crying part." Kaelin settled gracefully beside the throne, her hand automatically reaching for Darius's. The simple touch still sent warmth through both their bodies. The mate bond stronger now than ever. "Well," Darius began, his voice taking on the storytelling tone his children loved. "Once upon a time, there was a very sad king who thought he'd forgotten how to be happy." "That's you, Papa," Kieran giggled. "Indeed it was me. And this sad king had 2 precious children who cried every night because they missed their mama and worried their papa might disappear too." Lyanna nestled closer. Even though the story always made her remember sad times, she loved hearing how everything changed. But then, one stormy night, a brave Omega Maid came to the castle. She had kind eyes and gentle hands, and she knew secret magic. "What kind of magic?" Kieran asked, though he'd heard this story dozens of times. "The most powerful magic of all," Kaelin said softly. "The magic of understanding frightened children and helping them feel safe again." "And then what happened?" Lyanna prompted. "Well," Darius continued, "the brave maid helped the children sleep peacefully for the first time in months. And when the sad king saw his children smile again, his own heart began to heal. But then the mean council tried to hurt Mama Kaelin," Kieran added dramatically. "They did," Darius agreed. "But the goddess herself proved that some bonds are stronger than fear. The Moonwater showed everyone that your Mama Kaelin and I were meant to find each other. And now we're a real family again," Lyanna said with satisfaction. "Forever and always," Kaelin confirmed, kissing the top of each child's head. A commotion near the hall's entrance interrupted their story time. Lord Commander Grimwald entered in chains, flanked by royal guards. After his attempted coup, he'd spent 3 months in the dungeons awaiting trial. "Your Majesty," Captain Torres announced, "the prisoner requests to speak before tomorrow's coronation." Darius felt Kaelin's hand tighten in his. They'd discussed this moment many times. Justice demanded punishment, but mercy could heal old wounds. "Children, go with Captain Torres to the garden," Darius said gently. "Your mother and I need to handle grown-up business." Both children obeyed without argument, though Lyanna shot one suspicious look at Grimwald before leaving. When the hall emptied, except for essential guards, Grimwald was brought forward. The former Lord Commander looked older, his face gaunt from months of imprisonment and regret. "Your Majesty, Your Highness," he said, dropping to one knee before them. I come to beg forgiveness for my crimes against the crown and against an innocent woman. Speak your peace, Darius said neutrally. I let fear poison my judgment, Grimwald continued. I saw change coming to our kingdom and thought it meant weakness. I was wrong. The children are thriving under Queen Kaelin's care. The people sing her praises in the streets. I nearly destroyed something beautiful because I couldn't see past my own prejudices. Kaelin studied the man who'd once wanted her dead. Why should we trust your repentance now? Because I've had 3 months to watch through my cell window, Grimwald replied. I've seen how the kingdom flourishes under your joint rule. I've heard the children's laughter echoing through these halls again. I tried to prevent what the goddess herself ordained. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Darius spoke. Your actions endangered my family and nearly tore this kingdom apart. The law demands your life for treason. Grimwald bowed his head. I understand, Your Majesty. However, Darius continued, my queen has taught me that mercy can be stronger than vengeance. You'll be stripped of rank and title, exiled to the border territories. If you truly seek redemption, spend your remaining years protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Tears tracked down Grimwald's weathered cheeks. Your Majesty is more merciful than I deserve. Don't thank me, Darius said. Thank the woman whose execution you demanded. This mercy comes from her counsel, not my instincts. As guards led Grimwald away, Kaelin leaned against her husband's shoulder. Do you think he'll truly change? People can surprise us, Darius replied. A certain Omega Maid taught me that. Laughter bubbled from the garden as their children played with visiting noble children who'd arrived early for the coronation. The sound was pure joy, the kind that heals old wounds and builds new hopes. Your Majesty? Your Highness? Princess Lyanna appeared in the doorway, grass stains on her ceremonial dress and flowers in her hair. The ambassador from Northwind wants to meet the queen who tamed the scary king. I didn't tame him, Kaelin laughed. I just helped him remember who he really was underneath all that royal armor. Same thing, Lyanna declared with 6-year-old logic. Are you coming? Kieran's showing everyone how loud he can howl. Hand in hand, the royal couple followed their daughter toward the sound of children's laughter and the promise of tomorrow's celebration. Behind them, sunlight streamed through the great hall's windows, painting everything in shades of gold that matched the eternal glow of their goddess-blessed bond. In the garden, Prince Kieran was indeed demonstrating his impressive howling abilities, while a dozen young visitors tried to match his volume. Princess Lyanna immediately joined the competition, her voice already showing hints of the powerful alpha she'd become. They're going to be formidable leaders someday, Kaelin observed. With you guiding them, they'll be leaders who rule with both strength and compassion, Darius replied. The kingdom couldn't ask for a better future. As the afternoon sun painted the castle walls in warm light, the royal family of Valethorn stood together in their garden, surrounded by laughter and blessed by a love that had conquered fear itself. Tomorrow would bring grand ceremonies and political obligations. Tonight brought family dinners and bedtime stories and the simple miracle of children who slept peacefully, knowing their parents would still be there when morning came. The Alpha King had learned that the greatest victories weren't won with swords and strategies, but with patience and understanding and the courage to let others help carry the weight of love.